This is the Dealer Playbook. All right, here we go. Session 74 of the Dealer Playbook Podcast, where we are bringing you creative strategies. Why? Because you are today's advanced automotive professionals. Thanks so much for being here. I'm Michael Cirillo, joined by Robert Wiseman. What's going on?
What's happening?
Man, this is so much fun. I love podcasting. We kind of, we were heads down there for a while, and we were lining new guests up, but I just had so much fun just putting these things in the can, and just super excited for you guys listening in. Hope you guys are finding value. Listen, don't forget to check in with us on our Facebook page. We'd love to hear from you and interact with you there. There's already people starting conversations, which is phenomenal. New people finding out about the show all the time. To those of you, thank you. We very much appreciate it. And also, if you haven't checked out our new website, be sure to do that, where we've got some new tools and resources for you to download, all free, because we want to help you guys succeed. That's the whole point of all the work that Team DPB does for you. And I can't even say our own acronym. But listen, man, I want to just dive into this show today, because we have an incredible guest lined up. His name's Andrew Davis. He's a best-selling author. He's written a really cool book called Brandscaping. He's actually released another book. What was the name of that other book that he's just released? Town Inc. And truthfully, I mean, Robert, you, correct me if I'm wrong, we kind of wanted to go that route with him in this episode today, but he's really good. He's really focused. He kind of brought us back, and he's like, no, let's talk about this brandscaping thing, because it's something that the audience, you guys, need to hear about. And we couldn't agree more. As we got into it, the energy that Andrew has in this episode, I think you guys are really going to enjoy.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, guys, we're sitting down now with the man, a best-selling author of a book titled Brandscaping, who also has a new book out titled Town Inc., which you guys need to check out. We'll link you up in the show notes. Mr. Andrew Davis, thanks for joining us on DPB.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. This is fun. I'm psyched about it, Michael and Robert. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We always love meeting, and sitting down and chatting with individuals like yourself who really think outside the box. I mean, I feel like, especially in the auto industry, we get so inside the vacuum, so inside the dealership. So, the concept of brandscaping, which we want to talk to you about today, is really refreshing. But for those of you listening in, we just wanted to turn it over to you, Andrew, and just introduce the concept of brandscaping, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, sure. I'll give you the textbook definition first, and then we can break it down.
Sure.
But essentially, brandscaping is partnering with like-minded brands to create content designed to drive revenue or increase demand. Okay, so and now we can break it down piece by piece. So essentially, you want to partner with like-minded brands. That means you want to find partnerships in the marketplace already out there, like the other brands that your customers already buy from, that are going after the exact same audience you're going after, and you want to walk into their business and say, look, how can I help you grow your business? Because the more you think like that, the more you partner with those other companies, the more they'll talk about you and even create content with you designed to get their audience to think about buying from you first. So the simple question that I want you to ask yourself right now, if you're sitting at your desk in your dealership wondering where the next customer is going to come from, ask yourself this simple question: who has my next customer as their current customer? That's it. That's brandscaping.
Yeah, let me write that down. Hold on. Say that again.
Here, I'll say it slowly so that the guys at the
pull
dealership
over the road.
I don't have a pen.
Or they need to pull over the car or something.
Who has your next customer as their current customer?
So let me ask you this. Is this an affinity program? Is this reaching outside? I think the first thing that might come to the listener's mind is, okay, partner with other brands. And I think they're automatically going, well, I'm a Dodge dealer, so does that mean going to Mazda? Like, they're thinking brands, car brands. But
I see.
You're saying go to businesses in your community, or what does that look like?
Yeah, businesses in your community. It could be even bigger than that. So, for example, I just talked to these guys that make boats. It's actually a company called MJM Yachts. So they make really nice, high-end yachts. They make a few hundred a year. They're kind of churned out as custom yachts. And they have a whole list of customers that over the last 15 years have been spending $1 million, $1.5 million on a boat. from them. Okay. Now that list, those people that they've already serviced, that they've already bought from them, that have a great relationship with, those customers could be your next customers if you sell, Mercedes-Benz, or you sell Tesla, you sell some high-end brand that the same people buy those cars that buy these yachts.
Yeah.
So if you walked into MJM Yachts and said, "Hey, look, in the winter, I live in the Northeast, so everybody has to take their boats out of the water, right?" So if you walked in and said, "Hey, look, our dealership, it services these kinds of clients. They're exactly the kind of people that would buy MJM yachts. Why don't you put an MJM yacht out front of our dealership that'll get people coming and stopping and asking why we have a boat?" That gets people in the door. But also, why don't you tell all your people that they can come see a boat right outside at our dealership and come walk in the door? That gets them thinking about easy ways you two can partner to introduce your products and services to each other.
Bro, like that's all, like right now I'm spinning. I'm thinking, okay, you can do that with motorcycle, Harley Davidson,
Exactly.
Kawasaki. You can do it
That's
with
right.
regular, normal boats, like not $1 million yachts. You can do it with.
You could do it with fishing boats. Look, like,
Yeah.
you got to think
Because
more
they have
about
a target. Like if you sell Ford or you sell Chevy trucks,
That's right.
like I'm just thinking that fisherman's going to pool their boat themselves.
Exactly. So what
RVs.
you want to do, you want to think about the audience's other passion points. Like one of the key things to getting brandscaping to work is actually get outside of the mindset that your brand lives in like this, your company, your dealership, even the cars you sell kind of live in this singular world where all you think about every day is, your GM, your Fords, your Mercedes, your Teslas, whatever they are on the lot. You've got to remember that the customers you serve, the car is one piece of their life. They do a lot of other things. They believe in they love a lot of other brands. And one of the easiest ways to get into their mindset is think about what else they do. So if you're the guy at your dealership that loves to fish, well, then why don't you be the expert in fishing? Because that's a lot better than just being the expert in cars down at the dealership. That means that when other fishermen buy from you, they'll say, "Hey, look, Michael knows all about fishing. He has a great Chevy truck. He hooked me up with all this great fishing, these fishing spots. He gave me this great insight." Like all of a sudden, there's a real deep relationship there because you specialize in something and you have other brand relationships that showcase the quality of the service you provide.
I like that, man. Especially if you're like the fishing guy, but you got to make sure you own the truck too that you're selling, that you want to sell.
That's right.
And how it works great together. I do like that.
Exactly. Man. Like what it can pull. You're gonna speak to their passion point instead of talking about the features and functions of the car, which I can get from anyone.
Yeah,
right?
but it's like exactly, and it's easier to build a relationship when you have something that it's a passion for somebody like fishing. But I only need your services or your expertise on how you know the most about trucks, how nobody knows a truck better than you. I only need that once in a hog while.
Exactly.
But my passion, I need to feed that constantly
every weekend, right? Like if you live in an area where people love to hunt, well then be the hunting guy, right? If you live in an area where there's a whole community of people who like to mountain bike, all right, well, hook me up. And that's how you really get into essentially what you're doing is leveraging the loyalty loop of other people's brands and content to insert yourself in a way that's really authentic. And the loyalty loop is like a really important part of understanding the opportunity. Everybody has their own audience. The fishing store down the street, the motorcycle guys that race every weekend, the tough mudder people, the people that love to work out. What's that like cultish workout thing that everybody loves to do? I tried a couple times and hurt my back. CrossFit. Thank you. Who was that? Was that Michael or Rob?
Yeah, the cultish. Yeah, that was me.
Sorry to anyone who hey, look, I love CrossFit, but it's too hard for me, so I gave up. But CrossFit has a whole legion of loyal fans, and you understand their lifestyle. Even just getting into being part of that makes you a much more valuable asset when it comes to actually finding the next set of customers.
So basically, though, you want to go into like if you're going in and you're going to be the fishing expert, like that. Or the hunting guy or whatever, but does that work in every instance? I guess basically that audience needs to be the same target buyer that you're looking for, right? It's like your ideal client lies inside of these passions here.
That's right. So one of the things you should do today, like, if you're really trying to think through this, you want to think about like the last 10 customers that have been your best customers. That doesn't mean it means essentially think about the people that you delivered the highest margin to, or maybe they've delivered tons of referrals to you. Make that list, but then
the ones you want more of, basically.
Yeah, exactly. The ones you want more of. And then essentially just break down who those people are in very minute detail. Like my motto is get rich, target a niche. Essentially, if you just understand exactly who they are, maybe you'll realize that like 3 of the last 10 of your customers have been doctors and that they had no relationship beforehand. Your goal is to then figure out why 3 doctors bought from you, or did everybody else get 3 doctors this month? Like, is that doctors are walking in? And if that's the case, why are they buying now? What are the things that drew them to me as the salesperson? How did they build that relationship? And if you can't figure it out, you should call them. And what you actually want to ask them is you're trying to get to what I call the moment of inspiration. What was the moment you decided you wanted to buy a car? Because if I can understand that, then I really can learn a ton about how I can tap into that for other doctors or other lawyers or other fishermen or other people that sell Mary Kay cosmetics, whatever it is. You can really hone in on that moment of inspiration.
1 second.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you. So when you say the moment of inspiration, like give me an example of like a response to that would be, okay, so I get this doctor on the phone. I'm like, hey, dude, like what made you take action, whatever, or what is it? Take action with me or just in general?
No, you want to go even further back than that. Like,
what made them think about the product?
Not even that. Even before that, what made you decide you were going to go on this journey to buy a car? Like at some point you walked into our dealership or you called me or a friend told you to call me. That part is easier. I want to know what really inspired this journey, because some people will say, well, I bought a new boat. Okay, well, ding, ding, ding. You bought a new boat. That was the moment of inspiration. Then you realized your truck couldn't tow the boat you bought, or it was underpowered, or you didn't feel comfortable on the road and safe towing the boat. Okay, these are great insights, because then I really want to build a partnership with anybody out there who's selling boats. And the minute they sell a boat, I want them to say, hey, you know what? You've got a great vehicle, but if you need a better vehicle to tow this boat, you should talk to my friend Michael, or you should sit down with Robert. He's going to hook you up. That's when you've identified the moment of inspiration. So it's really what sent you on this journey. Like I define a moment of inspiration as an instant in time that sends you on a journey you never expected. All right? An instant in time that sends you on a journey you never expected. Actually, it even happened with me with my car. I just bought a new car recently.
What'd you buy?
My moment of inspiration, I got a lease notice from Nissan. One of those like stupid legal notices that says like your lease is up in 30 days.
Oh, and it drove you in. You took action. Take that down, guys. That's the real education here today. That called Andrew to action. Yeah.
That's the moment of inspiration. And what happens if you think about those, if you really put yourself in the mindset of a consumer today, they get this moment of inspiration and it triggers a question in their mind. The question that triggered in my mind when I got this lease notice was, oh my gosh, what car am I going to buy next? Okay, that was the question I had. It wasn't, first of all, Nissan screwed up because they sent me this legal document instead of an opportunity to remarket to me and keep me in the loyalty loop and get another Nissan, right? They just sent me this legal document.
Oh, so like your exit papers.
Exactly.
Yeah, walk-in papers. Before anybody ever tried to sell you another one.
That's right.
Wow.
So they should have been way ahead of the game, but let's assume you guys are better than that. But essentially, the question I'm now asking myself is, what's my next car? So that's the trigger question, and then there's initial consideration set. That's the first brand that comes to your mind, the first thing you think about. And obviously, for me, because I'm holding this legal document from Nissan, the first brand that comes to my mind is Nissan. But for everybody else in the marketplace, there's a different answer to that. Sometimes it's the person who puts up enough billboards, or maybe it's the car they loved when they were a kid, or it's a brand their parents have always bought. Whatever it is, that's the initial consideration set. And what happens then is people go on what I call active evaluation. they start adding and subtracting brands all along their path to a purchase. And that means even when I was driving to work that exact day, I'm looking at other cars on the road going, hey, maybe I'll get an Audi SUV. That's pretty nice. It just passed me on the highway. Then 2 seconds later, I see a BMW. I'm like, oh, maybe I want a BMW. Then I see the VW pass by, and I'm like, man, the VW SUV is pretty good. Maybe I don't need to spend as much. I could get that car. What happens when I get to the office? I just type into Google, the almighty Google, I just type in how much is an Audi, and I go, okay, forget it, Audi's out. I haven't been to your website. I didn't come down by your dealership, right? Like, I just add and subtract brands before I get to the point of chatting with you.
True. Yeah.
And eventually we get to a moment of purchase. But you really want to focus on that moment of inspiration, because that's in that moment of inspiration lies tons of great partnerships.
Yeah, that's where you want. That's your focus. Is that moment of inspiration is where you need to be. That's
right.
Basically.
And I mean, the funny thing is, typically the question that is asked, and I think the intention is to get to this moment of inspiration, but typically the question that's asked is, so what brings you in today?
That's right.
Hey, so
and the answer is,
why are you here?
No, just killing time.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, if you need anything, just let me know. I'm
That's
Michael.
right.
I'm going to be watching the football game over there.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, I think the entire experience changes when you understand the moment of inspiration, and those warm leads that walk in the door come with a whole set of assumptions that you can lend to the discussion. And I know it's no longer about making the sale or finalizing the deal. It's about how can I best help you with what you really want to do with this vehicle, which is probably not just drive around all day. You're trying to fuel something else, even if that's your family. Like maybe, there are a couple of moments in people's lives where they end up having to buy a new vehicle or eventually buy a new vehicle. It might be their first kid. They all of a sudden start assessing why they have the car they have. Is the car safe enough? That's a perfect moment of inspiration. So anytime someone gets pregnant, you should start building that relationship so you're the first brand they think of when they go, man, yeah, we have to buy a crib, but we also need to get a better car to drive home from the hospital because this thing isn't safe. Like, those are the things you want people to think about. If you're trying to get people to buy a new car, think about every time they get a raise. That's a moment of inspiration. What are they going to do with that money? They can do a lot of things, but if you're the first thing that comes to mind and they start thinking, hey, these guys really appreciate me, they congratulated me on my raise, they know where I work, like, this is a great opportunity to take this money and get a nicer car.
So how do they go about knowing, like, where do they go about engaging with that person at knowing that they got a raise? Where's that relationship come from? Like, into that?
Yeah. So you should just look at a list of the largest employers in your community. Go online. You can probably find it. Like in Boston, we have the Boston Business Journal, and they do like the biggest companies in Boston. And they do a whole issue every year about them. You can immediately start there, set up an appointment with the HR person there, and say, look, like, we love the fact that you guys are based here. You keep a lot of employees in our community. We sell cars just down the street. Every time someone gets a raise, we would be happy to give them a congratulations package of, I don't know, some fruit, whatever you want, something that kind of exudes your brand, and congratulate them on their raise. And we want you guys to be successful. All of a sudden, that's something the HR team can take pride in. Hey, look, we've got community partnerships, people that are involved. These are benefits that they'll talk about with prospective employees. They'll say, hey, we have a great relationship with Michael, who sells Kias right down the street. And all of a sudden, you've got this great start to a relationship, and you've identified the moment of inspiration you want them to target. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
plus you get them in. Plus HR can keep their people in debt too, so they got to show up to work and get there and make the money to pay for all that.
Well, not only that, it sets up such a level of affinity with this company that they're going to be excited about this program, and they'll probably publish something about it in a corporate newsletter or email or something like that. And just knowing that there's a program that exists that way, even something as simple as congratulating people on a raise, it's going to send a signal, or new hires. It's going to send a signal to all of the other employees that when it's time for us to buy a car, or when we're thinking about it, the first place we're going to go to is ABC dealership, because they've got this program with us.
Yeah.
So, Michael, you're exactly right. That's what you want these relationships to grow to. So you walk in, you have these initial meetings, talk about the moment of inspiration you're trying to target, give them something of value that they can get, leverage for their business. And eventually you want to do exactly what you're talking about. Hey, what can we do to help everybody in your company? Hey, every time there's a new raise, do you guys send out a newsletter? Like, we'd be happy to, like add content to the newsletter, or tell them what new car is on the lot, or give them a deal on a used car we can't get rid of, like whatever it is.
Even come over, if they're literally down the street, come over and pick up their car while they're at work for the oil change and service and stuff.
Exactly.
Man,
that's genius.
Oh, dude. And all you have to do is, as a salesperson, you can do that pretty much on your own until it gets out of control. Like, let it get out of control and then figure it out. But like, you could go there, drive your car over, drop it off, bring theirs back, and go there, and it at least gets you in front of somebody, you know what I mean? But I'm sure they'd be happy to do that. And anybody can just walk into these companies and just like sell them on the idea, just like you sell somebody on signing up on this new vehicle, at $300 more a month than what they said they wanted to be at when they came in the door anyway. So sell the person there on the value you can bring. I like that.
Absolutely.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
I think the thing that I love about this, I mean, sorry to cut you off. I think, what I love about this is it brings back, I feel like, especially this day and age, digital age, everything we talk about revolves around digital strategies. And I mean, I'm a digital guy, so it's what I'm passionate about. But this brings back that human interaction angle, and there's so much that we could be doing that's really simple to just, it starts with a simple phone call, that you could be doing. And the reason I bring it up that way is I feel like we're so caught up in digital strategies and marketing and all these sorts of things that we forget that your website isn't going to set up this stuff for you. It's where you can talk about it. It's where you can build awareness around it. Social media, you can talk about it and create some buzz, but it still needs to happen offline. And I feel like sometimes, like I said, we're so caught up in digital that we forget the fact that the website won't pick up the phone and start these interactions with people.
It's very true. I couldn't agree more. I think you're absolutely right. I think in one of the other DPB episodes, you also talked about the fact that
you a fan?
This guy's good, ladies and gentlemen. This guy's
I think it was your episode, Michael. You were your 22-minute rant. You were talking about the value of being relevant in a digital age. And one of the things I always say is you can't be everything to everyone. So why not be something to someone? And, you have to make really hard choices if you want to drive higher margin business, if you want to have higher value customers, if you want to really, kill it. I think you have to focus on that something to someone. Who is going to be your target audience? How can you carve off that little niche and really own it? Because that's where the real value comes in. Nothing, the digital world can certainly do exactly what you're saying, drive interest, make people aware. But at the end of the day, you can build a personal brand that adds value to the car people buy. And I want you to think about what that means to your business. If you did become the fishing guy in your community, or the motorcycle guy, or even the guy that has great relationships with the biggest employers in town, that changes the game entirely for you and for the business that you run.
And even starting with thinking about your own interests, and how you can align your pastime or your hobby with your career in automotive, and that's that would be a great starting point too, I think.
You're absolutely it has to be authentic. If you've never fished a day in your life,
because if I'm the fishing guy, I am not the fishing guy.
I've never fished a day in my life.
Well,
literally.
So do not be the fishing guy, Robert.
Those would be some pretty funny videos. You promoting yourself as the fishing guy. So this is a fish.
It has to be. This is a salmon. I grilled it this weekend.
I'd be like, ew, I got to put this on the hook. Ew, no.
I got to touch that thing?
But if you must have something you're passionate about. Like, Robert, do you tailgate? Like, what do you do?
I tailgate. No, I like wrestling. I'm a big wrestling fan.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Like professional and amateur? And
no, pro wrestling. Steel chairs, masks, capes.
Okay. All right. Well,
pure entertainment.
If you could sell cars to all the people who love wrestling. Like, that's actually possible.
Yeah.
And I,
that works for sports too. Like for people,
works
like
for
they could be
sports
like the high school sports go-to guy. Yeah.
A good place to start is even thinking about the sponsorships your dealership already has. So maybe you're in New England, there are a bunch of dealerships that have partnered up with the major league sports teams. Those are great starts to a deeper relationship. Brandscaping is not about sponsoring. It's about getting deeper than that. And what can you actually both do to add value to the people that you serve? And, if you sell trucks or if you sell cars and you're already sponsoring the Patriots, why not have a whole really slick and smart way to get to people who love to tailgate? That changes the conversation from the outset. If you love to tailgate, we've got a different kind of car for you.
What am I into, Robert? Tailgating. Like, what made you think me?
I wasn't
so funny.
Sure. It came to mind. I have no idea, but wrestling, okay.
Dude, I'm good because I'm into making money, so I'm just going to start talking to people who also like making money. No.
Yeah, that's everybody likes making money.
Do they?
Yeah, but there's a scale there.
But they don't always like doing what it takes to make money.
There you go.
Nobody doesn't like making it.
That's true. Yeah, there's an opportunity there. Being the salesman's sales guy for cars, there's an opportunity there as well.
Yeah, definitely. Dude, this was good, man. Anybody that's on this one, get this guy's book, the audio book. I tell you what, listen, I liked in the beginning of it how I was like, I connected from the beginning because you did the extra thing on there where you're like talking about what I'm doing, telling me what I'm doing right now, basically, and why you presented it and packaged it the way, in a way that's it's designed to be consumed doing what I'm doing, basically.
Yeah. I'm glad, man. I'm glad you noticed.
And then, but no, bro, I went on a 5.5 hour ride with you that day, man. I started it and went 5.5 hours, listened straight to it. Yeah.
Dude, that's a lot of Andrew. I don't know. My wife would have a heart attack. She wouldn't have done it. She would have thrown me out of the car.
You're like, we're on a 6-hour road trip. Let me just read my book to you right now.
That's basically how the audiobook starts.
I just read the most amazing book. Oh, yeah, by who? Me.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's not a best written book. It's a bestseller. Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
There you go, man. Thanks so much for being with us. I just wanted to recap and then maybe turn it over to you for any last thoughts that you wanted to share.
Where to find you at, man.
Yeah, and where we can find you at. But really to recap this, I mean, the thing is, it's all about partnering with like-minded brands and getting clear on that. It's not other dealership brands and other car brands, but go into your community. Maybe there's some brands that you can affiliate with online that are doing something cool, and just simply picking up the phone and seeing what kind of program you can set up. I liked what you said about the yacht company and maybe parking one of their yachts out front of the dealership. If your brand's kind of align,
sky's the limit, dude. Or like those nerdy like import tuners and people that like, I'm putting the air quotes up right now. They don't work on podcasts.
No.
Hook up their car.
Yeah,
that's right.
Like the hook up people hook one up and you put it in the front, and then you have like,
it's just simply like throwing
meetings there. All those nerds with their little cars.
Exactly. I mean, I live in a big like outdoorsy. This is Granolaville. Lots of hiking, skiing, mountain biking, dirt biking. So I mean, simply like decking out one of your trucks, hooking up the bikes on the back and like roof rack and all those different types of things just to show. Jeez. Yeah, I mean, and we never think outside the box. So really the essence of this whole episode is... Yeah, exactly. And you know what? The OEMs...
I can't stop, man. I can't stop.
I know, because the OEMs do this stuff already. You never see a Honda Element commercial where the Honda Element is pulling a fifth wheel. It's the dude's always like loading up a surfboard. He's hooking on his mountain bike to the back. I mean,
or the cowboy in the Scion,
exactly.
Construction worker hopping in a Scion.
Or like, think of the buzz with Matthew McConaughey driving a Buick. You're like, this would never happen. Like, let's get serious here. So there was some disconnect on that one, but I mean,
same with Eminem driving a Chrysler.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, really?
He never drove it though. He was just singing.
Yeah, he was just like, I'm so happy these are built in Detroit, but I'd never drive one myself. But so anyways, you know, I think this is a really cool topic. It's thinking outside the box, and it's taking that market segmentation to a deeper level, which you're suggesting is kind of where we need to get at. We need to stop thinking about kind of the high level sponsorships. That's a great way to, I guess, kind of drive the relationship in a certain direction. But you got to get deeper than that. Align your interests, maybe your own personal passions with companies and different brands out there that can, you know, drive a win-win relationship. You know, just in closing this down, is there a final thought that you'd like to share with those listening in about the concept of brandscaping, and then of course where we can get in touch with you?
My final thought is the next customer that walks in the door at your dealership, I want you to actually just think about the rest of their life. You know, what else do they do? You know, just even ignore the fact that they're trying to buy a car right now. Find out what other brands and companies they interact with in your community, whatever restaurants they go to, because that'll start your mind wandering, and it'll be great food for thought over the next, you know, few hours when you start wondering who has my next customer as their current customer. That's my final thought. And you can find me on Twitter. It's one of the easiest ways to interact with me. My handle is at TPL Drew, which stands for Tipping Point Labs, which used to be the agency I sold. So it's TPL Drew. You can find me online at you'vebeenDrewed.com. And yeah, that's about it. You can find the Brandscaping book or Town Inc. on Amazon.
You'vebeenDrewed.com? Oh, I'm on
yeah.
AKA DrewDavis.com.
You can go there too, but you'vebeenDrewed.com will give you, if you want, I'll send you 6 weeks of inspiration over lunch. So like every lunchtime, I'll just send you a video of me yelling at you, telling you to get inspired.
Love it.
Cool.
Hey Andrew, thanks so much, man. Appreciate you being on the show today.
Great work,
no problem,
man.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Awesome. Awesome. That was, again, Andrew Davis. Man, that guy, he really brings it. And I thought that was a great session. You know, I knew he was gonna rock it once he got here. What'd you think, Cirillo?
Yeah, man. I love the guy's energy. I love that he's not just looking outside the box, but he's also kind of digging deeper inside the box. I think, you know, just what he's talking about. You know, we've talked about affinity programs and stuff like that inside the industry for quite some time, but as the digital age has come upon us, that's kind of where all of our focus has been, and we forget about this human-to-human interaction and just kind of what kind of powerful things can come from it. So I love his take on just setting up relationships with like-minded brands, and I mean, we all know when you connect with like-minded people, power happens. So. Yeah, real cool.
And you
concept.
build relationships. You have the opportunity to build a relationship, and then that builds, you know, the trust, which then in the end, you know, the trust and relationship leads to business.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the one thing that I guess I would add to it, not that I could really add anything more, is, you know, don't do what we do as human beings and make this more complicated than it needs to be. I mean, just pick up the phone with. I mean, if you are into fishing or hunting, I mean, pick up the phone with your local, you know, whatever it is, like Wholesale Sports or whatever it is, and call them and just set up a program. Be like, this is what I'd love to do. I'd love to, have
same with the boats, motorcycles, all that, man.
But we tend to make these things too difficult, and we never take action on them. So my encouragement is just for those of you listening in, if you want to move on this, which I think you really should, just keep it simple. Yeah. So there you have it. That was Andrew Davis. You can check out the show notes where we're going to link you up with his books that you absolutely need to check out. He's got the audiobook version and as well as print versions that you can get all over the place. But we're going to link you up at www.thedealerplaybook.com/74. And until next time, guys, thanks so much for listening in, and we'll talk to you later.
Take care.